Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the main event. Let's get ready to rumble!
And that's right, everybody. Welcome back to a bonus episode of the Best Seat in the House podcast. As always, I'm your host, Rob Kramer, joined by my co-host, Daniel Bobo Curlin. And Dan, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing fine. Just had to pick up the last minute stuff to the supermarket, getting ready for the Super Bowl. My mom makes that excellent chili she always makes every year at Super Bowl Sunday. Can't. And I can tell you, I can't have Super Bowl Sunday without my mom's chili.
Yes, you've mentioned this chili before, so it's definitely a staple in the Curlin household. Very cool you had that tradition.
Yeah, definitely. One of these days I gotta bring some your way. Maybe get some in a plastic Tupperware container or something and bring some to you, because it is some good stuff. Not just on Super Bowl Sunday, but anytime my mom makes this stuff, she does an excellent job with the chili every year. Always wins hands down, regardless of whether my team's in the game. At least I know that chili's gonna be there. But
Exactly.
but also I have to say I nearly destroyed my TV last night with watching the Rangers game last night.
Yeah, they ended up blowing that lead in the third period against the Chicago Blackhawks last night. Actually, that's as good a place as any to start, Dan. We might as well kick it off with the New York Rangers, who, by the way, we're going to be seeing at MetLife Stadium in 2 weeks against the New York Islanders in the Stadium Series game. And we might need some of your mom's chili to, warm us up on that day, right?
Yeah, that's true. I only wish that was possible. Believe me, if I was driving, I pack some in the car.
Exactly, man.
If I was driving, but of course I'm using New Jersey Transit to get there. But if I was driving, I'd have some on hand before the game.
But yeah, we're definitely going to need it. And getting back to last night's game, though, the Rangers ended up blowing that 3-1 lead, where it looked like Shesterkin was just settling in and starting to get back in his rhythm. And then boom, just under about 6 minutes left, they ended up cutting the lead to 3-2, and then in the final 2 minutes making it a tie game, and really breaking our hearts there for a second. But obviously Mika Zibanejad ended up saving the day as the Rangers won the game 4-3 in overtime. But I'm sure your TV had to withstand a barrage of water bottles after that third period implosion.
Well, luckily it was just an empty. It was just an empty cup, an empty reusable plastic cup from a Mets game I was drinking. Those plastic cups they serve soda in. And luckily it didn't even hit the TV. It landed on the floor. But I think
God
the cup.
for that.
I think that cup could have done damage if it hit the TV, because of how easily these TVs are. These TVs these days can't take a beating like the older TV. Remember those big boxy TVs? You could get upset. You could turn off the TV upset, throw a remote at that thing. You could accidentally drop it if you're moving, and that thing would still work fine. Those things could take a beating.
Oh yeah, you're right about that. Those things were like a piece of furniture back then. So you could drop an elbow on it as a kid. Doing the wrestling moves and all that kind of stuff. So they definitely could withstand a lot more back in the day. You sneeze at these things today, and you have to get a new one. But definitely a good thing that you had an empty cup last night, though, because as you said, the disappointment of what happened, and Shesterkin coming up big though in overtime, a couple of saves that needed to stretch it to where they could have Mika be in position to win that there. And hopefully this is the thing that gets Mika Zibanejad going, because he really has been in a slump ever since the beginning of 2024 when the calendar turned over to January. Mika Zibanejad has been very cold. That was his, I believe, his 16th goal of the year. And I like Trocheck a lot, but Mika Zibanejad has the exact same offensive numbers as Vincent Trocheck, and Zibanejad's a much better offensive player. His numbers, especially when he's playing with guys like Kreider and Panarin at times, especially on the power play, really should enhance his numbers. And it's just been a disappointment of how Mika's season's gone,
Yeah, it is. Also, I gotta say, unfortunately, I feel like every team that's like in contention, they have this little rough patch, and we went through it in January during this long grind of a season. Hopefully, we've gotten that. We pushed that past us. Luckily, we didn't fall behind. We didn't fall out of a contention during that streak, during that rough patch of we survived January onto February, and it's going good so far, and hopefully it keeps going good, and we make a move that needs to be made at the deadline, which I'm predicting will probably come in the form of Frank, the return of Frank the Tank Vetrano.
So that's who you think they're going to go after? Because right now those pair of Anaheim Ducks right wingers, being Adam Henrique, the former New Jersey Devil, and Frank Vetrano, obviously our former right wing for a 40-game span, 20 of which was regular season, the other 20 being the postseason run. And Frank Vetrano was a very valuable player during that time. So I definitely would not mind seeing him come back. And the good thing about making a deal for him, too, is that he's under contract for next year. So it wouldn't just be a short-term deal.
Yeah, exactly. It's that's one of the reasons why I think if you go after him. The other reason, I feel like he's had playoff experience with the Rangers, and that goes a long way because it's a lot different. It's just a lot different when you're playing, when you're a contender on this team. It's just different from anywhere else because there is just that added pressure to win.
Oh yeah, man, you absolutely got that right. I mean, when you come to New York, that is, especially the Rangers now, this being the 30th anniversary of the Stanley Cup. So, they got so close 2 years ago. You had the first round disappointment last year. So we all know that there is a lot of pressure on this Rangers team to make some kind of run. And, right now, you just got to hope that Chris Drury puts them in that position. I mean, we all kind of thought that the Rangers were that team last year when he went all in and got Patrick Kane and Vladimir Tarasenko. Obviously, that didn't work out for us, but, there's a lot of different ways that Drury could go. My thing is, man, just make the right move. The salary cap is going to open up a little bit next year, so they can think a little bit long term as well as short term. So you just got to hope that Chris Drury pulls the trigger on the correct options. Just like, even if you want to give him a bad grade for last year, what he did at the deadline before that when he brought in Andrew Kopp and Frank Vetrano and Tyler Mott and a bunch of those guys from that run, he had a home run on that trade deadline. So you got to give him credit for that, right?
Yeah. I really have to give him credit for that. So I just sense that one could be a big one. And and you just mentioned 30 years since the last time we won the Cup. It feels like yesterday.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's 93, 94. We're in 23, 24 now, and yeah, it's hard to believe, man. I mean, the last time they won, I was 7 years old, so it's been a long, long time.
Yep, I remember that at 12. And as I said, it's the 12 years old. I remember watching that game in Woodside and seeing the fireworks go off in my neighborhood when that happened.
That must have been awesome too. I mean, I was all the way out east on Long Island at the time, so I think I was probably surrounded by a little bit more Islander fans than Ranger fans. But you being pretty close like that must have been an awesome feeling,
Yep, it was. Was an awesome feeling. Was awesome being at that parade. So I could tell you it was definitely a magical season, and I hope we get to see that again. I still have that Sports Illustrated collector's edition.
Very cool. Yeah, from because that was the early days too of that. They really hadn't been doing that deal for that long too. When you must have got that, so that's pretty cool too.
Yeah,
And
I guess
yeah,
I just
right.
remember my mom called that number like right when they broadcasted it on TV when they the commercial like right out somewhere after the game, somewhere during a post game they ran that commercial for it.
That's very cool. And now leading up to the Stadium Series game that we're going to be going to, the Rangers just have 2 games left prior to that now, and they're going to be playing Monday night against the Flames. Thursday night against the Canadians. Both of those are winnable games. Both of those are at Madison Square Garden. So, right now the Rangers have won 4 in a row. 3 since coming out of the break. They won the last one against the Sens when they blew them out 7-2. So, I mean, look, you got to hope that the Rangers can take these 2 games and go into that Islander game on a 6-game winning streak and feeling really good about themselves. They haven't had a 5-game winning streak since early December, and ever since mid-December when they got off that 18-4 stretch to start the season, the Rangers had been 7-9-2 coming into that. So maybe they're starting to figure things out a little bit, and the fact that Shesterkin gets the win last night can only help things too.
Yep, exactly. And maybe me offering Jabu Canadian beer may have helped.
I definitely think that did help. But you know what, Dana, I do want to get your opinion on this though too, where the Islanders, the team that we're going to be going to see the Rangers play, they've been going through some changes too in recent weeks. They ended up losing today to Calgary 5-2, who obviously we're going to be playing in a couple of days. But they dropped that game. They dropped to 22, 18, and 12 on the season, basically 22 and 30. Not very good through their first 52. They got 30 games left to straighten things out. And the guy behind the bench that's going to try to do it on the Stadium Series date right now is Patrick Waugh. What do you think of Patrick Waugh as the Islanders' new head coach? Dan? All right, well, we lost Dan there for a second, but Patrick Waugh, since coming back to the league, he hadn't been in the league in quite a few years since he got fired by the Colorado Avalanche when they had their falling out there. And you have to give credit to Patrick Waugh for the way he kind of energized the Islanders right off the bat there upon his arrival. He's 3-3-1 since his return to the league. And Danny, there, can you hear me, buddy?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah. I just sorry about the viewers. There was a little malfunction. I don't know what's going on. There was the audio. Being able to hear my co-host voice on my end, it kind of crapped out. So I had to do a quick reset. So sorry about that. But yeah, I think this guy. I think he's kind of gotten it. The Islanders coach is doing a good job. Trying to right the ship on this. I just have a feeling this game, I have a feeling it's going to go down to the third. It could be close going into the third period. This game.
Oh yeah, I totally agree with you on that. The Islanders are still a scrappy team, and the one thing that they've done that has really helped them is losing overtime. I know that sounds like a weird thing to say, but if you keep your regulation losses down and you lose those games in overtime and you consistently get that extra point, the Islanders have lost 12 times in overtime. That's 12 extra points that they would have not had if they would have just lost in regulation. So, that's one thing to consider, that the Islanders have helped themselves and they've kept themselves relevant. They're still a ways behind the Rangers for first place, but they're still in the playoff hunt only because of those losses, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I just feel like it did right now going to this game. They look like they're one of those teams that are kind of like maybe 50-50. Like they kind of could be a contender. They kind of might not be. Like they're kind of climbing the uphill battle. So I expect this to be a very competitive game. We're going to be a very nervous game that I'm not going to be calm until the end. And hopefully we're on the winning end of it.
Yeah, exactly, man. And every game the Rangers have played outdoors too has been, a thrilling, close game. We had the overtime game with Buffalo that you were at.
Actually, I was at every one the Rangers were at, so I've experienced some close ones, some really exciting ones.
Really very cool, very cool. You know what? Actually, they actually had on MSG recently too was the Rangers playing an outdoor game. It was an exhibition, so it doesn't count. But it was an outdoor game against the Los Angeles Kings from 1993 in Las Vegas. So years and years before the Las Vegas Golden Knights came into existence, the Rangers and the LA Kings were skating around out there.
Yeah, that was crazy seeing that happen. This was actually sort of unofficially the first time the NHL did an outdoor game, and when I look at footage of this, I heard it was a big challenge trying to pull this one off. For one thing, I heard that they apparently there was a lot of grasshoppers that ended up on the ice. It was a challenge to keep the ice in playable shape. And the fact that they built it was a temporary venue. This wasn't even at a set venue at a venue. They didn't build it wasn't inside a venue. It was all a temporary setup outside, apparently.
Yeah, you're right. And they had a lot of issues with their refrigeration systems. And we actually just got pictures the other day of the refrigeration system showing up at MetLife. So it's pretty funny that, even here in the dead of winter, they're having those trucks show up an hour, a week or two in advance.
Well, they got it's a lot of prep work, and it's a lot of work to have the stuff ready to go. I also have to give credit to the NHL. They've gotten a long way since that preseason experiment that you just brought up. Because for one thing, they pulled off the challenge of doing this in 2008 when they had that game, the Winter Classic between Buffalo and Pittsburgh. They somehow pulled it off. They've gotten very good at doing these outdoor games since then, to the point that in 2014 there was an outdoor game in Dodger Stadium in LA between the Kings and the Anaheim Ducks. Somehow they pulled off an outdoor game in LA, of all places. And I feel like if they I just thought, I remember when I heard that they were going to do this, I said, no way, they're actually going to pull off an outdoor game in LA. It's gotta be ludicrous. And they're actually going to pull off a place that literally gets no winter weather. And I had to just watch the game to see how this turned out. And they actually pulled it off. So to my surprise, they pulled off doing that. So they've come a long way. So if they could go off pulling that, they've really come a long way with pulling off being able to pull off doing an outdoor game.
Oh, and they're basically experts at that now.
Yeah. They're basically expert in that. So they somehow they pulled it off. They pulled off. So they're probably gonna go off without a hitch in the Meadowlands. And like I said, they show up hours early to make sure they show up weeks early to make sure to get this thing right. So they're gonna.
Yeah.
So I can't. I'm looking forward to seeing this one. Hopefully it won't be as freezing as that one I went to in 2008, because that I've been to of those outdoor games I've been to. That one was that one so far was the coldest one, 2008 at Citi Field. And I can't.
Yeah. Well, it looks like it's going to be relatively warm for us, so I think we could be pretty happy about that. It's not going to be that bad, but I mean, it's still 8 days away, I guess things could change. But it looks like from the weather patterns they've been shown is that it's going to be 30s, 40s, so not too bad.
Yeah, exactly. Also, a word of advice to everyone on social media: because this game falls on the same day as the Daytona 500, I have set my DVR to record the Daytona 500. So any spoilers, you will be on a Shizer list for a very, very long time if you even mention anything that happened. Because I'm literally going to be watching that when I get once I get home, because I'm gonna have it set to record, and I'm avoiding any social media post about from anyone who I know probably watched it, because I want to avoid any spoilers, because I'm gonna be, like I said, as soon as I get home, I'll have that recorded on my DVR to watch. I recorded it.
Well,
I'm
by the way,
recording it.
Dan, with the return of NASCAR and the Daytona 500 kicking off everything like that this year now, that means that's going to be the return of Bobo's Trackside Minute on our Patreon page, right?
Yeah, exactly. That'll be the return of Bobo's Trackside Minute, and I look forward to once again doing Bobo's Trackside Minute. So there'll be plenty of content there. I might even do some not set in stone yet, but if I do any trips to like any place, like let's say if I happen to I've never been to the NASCAR Hall of Fame yet, so if I'm there, I'm hoping maybe one of these days during this year I could maybe film a trackside minute from the NASCAR Hall of Fame of all places.
That would be very cool, and we could definitely include that. And if you'd like to see that, you could join our Patreon page, as it says in the bottom of the screen, patreon.com/Best Seat in the House podcast. It's only $5, and it helps support our podcast and everything that we do. We really appreciate all your support, everybody that has already subscribed, and everybody that's watching right now across 3 platforms. Pretty cool, Dan. This is the first time being on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at the same time, right?
Yeah, that is. It's really impressive. And if any of you are watching, feel free to say hi to us and let us and express your support for this show, because this is a rare time you're gonna get you're seeing us live. And like I said, I apologize for the little technical problems. This kind of thing might happen if it's gonna be live. So you've seen a little bit what happens when we've done these shows pre-tape. Sometimes the audio, sometimes on my end, my co-host voice, sometimes I don't know, the signal breaks up that I have to I have to do a reset sometimes to get it on my end. But that's unfortunately that's how it is when you're live. So you're seeing a little technical technical issues that when they happen, you see it happen.
And also too, we appreciate everybody that subscribed to our Patreon, because that's going to go to the Get Bobo Better Lighting Fund, because we definitely have to get my buddy there. A couple of months ago we got you the earpiece, and I feel like that's really improved a lot of the audio quality. We definitely got to get you some better lighting in there, buddy.
Yep, definitely. Hopefully, we'll get some lighting. Unfortunately, where I live, I got a landlord that nickel and dimes everything.
Well, and also too, if you want to see it be hilariously pointed out that Bobo was sitting in the dark, basically, you could check out our last episode where we had the great Carl Hamburger on from Who Are These Podcasts. And Dan, that was so great having Carl on, right? He really couldn't have been a better guest. And it's been one of our better viewed episodes that we've put up in quite some time.
Yeah, exactly. Unfortunately, it's I kind of use this room because this is probably the quietest room in the house at the time, because there's a lot of noise and stuff from outside from the neighbors and stuff. It's probably one of the quietest rooms in the house. I have to use this, so I kind of have to had to make do with what's available in the house, what works best, and because the ambiance works well.
Exactly. Hey, in the we're up to like episode 101 now, so where eventually, you know, we got you the mic. Eventually, in the next 100, you're gonna get the lamp too. So we're gonna figure this thing out.
Yep. Yep. Exactly. And I can tell you, it's definitely gonna look great. But yeah, I have to say also tomorrow, since we're leading up to the Super Bowl, I'm looking up some of the little fun parts. We know about people placing bets on the Super Bowl, but it's always fun checking out these prop bets on the Super Bowl. Am I right?
Absolutely, buddy.
And I noticed one prop bet, how long the national anthem is going to be.
Now, what is that prop bet? Because that is like, what's the over under time? Because I remember Gino, our good friend Gino Bisconti, was a big fan. That is one of his favorite prop bets that he's talked about over the years, and it really is an interesting one because everybody sings it different. And you know, what are your what's the over under on that?
I think this one probably might be a bit shorter. I feel.
So what are you thinking? Because what do you think is the over under? How about a minute 20? Are you going to say over or under that?
I think under, because I just feel like country singers aren't going to try to go over the top with the national anthem, because I just feel like certain singers, you know, they're going to go a bit long with the national anthem, you know, because they like to go over the top. Because you always got the singers that always try to outdo Whitney Houston. Ever since Whitney Houston performed the national anthem at Super Bowl 25.
Mm-hmm.
So I just feel like certain singers. I don't know why. I just feel like the R&B singers tend to like to go over the top with the national anthem.
Yeah. Oh, no doubt about it. And who is the person that's singing the anthem this year?
This year is Reba McEntire.
Oh, Reba. Okay. Yeah, you're right. I did hear that. So that's interesting. At least, I mean,
who by the way is a cast member of one of my favorite B movies. I don't know if you ever seen the movie Tremors.
I've heard of it. I never actually have seen it though.
Oh yeah, definitely check it out. It's with her. She was in that movie with Kevin Bacon. It's a real fun movie. Like, I think she was like in her 20s when she did that movie.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. It's made in the 1980s. It's called Tremors. It's I guess you could say it's like a horror film, a disaster film, but it is one of my favorite B movies. It is a classic and it's definitely very 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 80s ish, and I feel like you'll enjoy it. It's called Tremors, and they've made several sequels with different actors, but that but the one I'm talking about is the very first one called Tremors.
All right. Very cool. Well, do you have any more prop bets?
Yeah, there's one. The odds of Taylor Swift being shown during the national anthem is the other one I saw, and
definitely she will be.
Yeah, unfortunately she will be. She will be.
I don't think there's any doubt about that. That definitely makes a lot of sense. You know, the prop bet that I like too, and it's not one of the crazy ones, but just taking a look at a bunch of them is I like the total penalties accepted, and the over under for that is 10.5. So what do you think, Dan? Do you think the over or the under for total penalties accepted at 10.5? I think I'm feeling, even though I think it's crazy to bet against the over, I'm feeling the under. I don't know. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I just feel the under, because I just feel like these two teams don't seem like to penalize so much. I know usually Cubs Super Bowl time is always a tough one to predict, because usually when my team's not in the playoffs, it's always like tough to try to figure out what I know about a team I haven't really been seeing much the whole year.
Mm.
So it's like different, but I just feel like this one's gonna be the under, from everything I've been seeing about from everything I've been researching from about this year's the 49ers and the Chiefs.
Yeah, no, I definitely hear you on that, man. And what do you think about you know, there's another bet I like too, touchdown scores there's a couple of different guys out there like Christian McCaffrey and Isaiah Pacheco or Travis Kelce. If you had to pick a guy that's going to score a touchdown in this game, who would be your bet?
I feel like two people that might really you got to have a good eye on it is the tight end on the 49ers and
So you're thinking George Kittle?
Yeah, it's probably going to score a couple. And I probably feel like Travis Kelce. I just feel like this could be a high scoring game that's going to be determined by a couple of key defensive plays.
Well, George Kittle right now is he's on pointsbet.com. He's a plus 190 on the anytime touchdown board. Also for first touchdown, he's plus 1,200. So if you put $100 down on George Kittle to score the first touchdown of the Super Bowl, you go in $1,200. And also for the last touchdown, if he scores the last touchdown of the Super Bowl, it's plus 1,100. So George Kittle is an interesting choice.
Yeah, so I just feel like he's gonna play a big factor in this, and I really just have a hunch that the 49ers are gonna win this game. I just feel like this team is they're not fazed by any opponent that's in their way, and I just feel like it might be remnants of the 2007 Giants that were up against this Patriots team that looked unbeatable. And I feel they're going to say that they're carrying that same momentum.
But you know what though, Dan? I kind of feel like if you're gonna go with that mentality, that the Chiefs really would be the 2007 Giants, and the 49ers would be the 2007 Patriots. If you're gonna go with that, from my perspective, only because the Chiefs have had to do it on the road. They haven't had to play at Arrowhead for the last couple of weeks, and I feel like the 49ers, even though they haven't won, I feel like they've been considered a heavy favorite. I mean, they're even a -2, they're against the defending Super Bowl champions. So you know what I mean? Like, I feel like even though I know what you're saying, you could look at it from both sides.
Yeah, I feel like I could look at it for both sides. I kind of more look at the 49ers of that team because I feel like it is the Chiefs, and they just have that experience. They have that established winning mentality that they seem to have gotten they seem to be running a tight ship that even if they were on the road, they just had that whatever it is that they just been able to win.
Yeah, no, you're definitely right about that.
And speaking of 2007 Giants, I decided to wear this shirt that's a little throwback.
What shirt? Oh yeah, there you go. It's that is that the 2011 Super Bowl?
No, that's 2007. It's Super Bowl 42.
Okay, yeah. I couldn't really see.
Yeah, I just felt like I had to go. I just had to go throw back to Super Bowl 42, which is like the first time I had seen a team that I was a fan of win a championship since the '94 Rangers. That was the first.
If you had to choose between the two Super Bowls the Giants beat the Patriots in, 42 and 46, which Super Bowl meant more to you?
Had to be 46 because I got to see it in person.
Makes sense. That definitely makes sense. And because and obviously it didn't hurt of the famous Eastside Dave song going viral during that time. Tom Brady.
yeah. Which, by the way, I have to say, to this day, I will argue it. I will always argue it that song is way better than the Super Bowl Shuffle. I'm sorry, Chicago. That's my opinion. As Colin Quinn would say, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it about it because that is without a doubt the best Super Bowl song ever. I will watch that I will watch it. I was watching a couple of days ago. I decided to watch all 4 Giants Super Bowl highlight films from all 4 championship seasons. I was watching the highlight films, and right before I watched the two, I took out my 2000 and the Super Bowl 46 champions the highlight film of that season, that 2011 Giants, that highlight film Blu-ray.
Yeah.
I had to watch that video from that Eastside Day video. I watched it yet again. That had video, and I may have been singing along a bit, out of nostalgia, because I probably I watched that video. I think I watched that video right before the game too. Like, I just had to look at that video, and everyone that saw me watching that video, they were like dancing. So it's like it is the greatest Super Bowl song ever, and I will stand by that no matter how many times people from Chicago will argue with me on that one.
Look, I'm a Jets fan, and I have no love for the Giants, and you are correct. It is the greatest Super Bowl song ever.
Exactly. And they need to run, the NFL Network needs to show that video when Eli Manning gets into the Hall of Fame. And I will always argue that when Eli Manning belongs to the Hall of Fame, they need to play that video sometime when they talk about like Eli Manning's career. They need to play that video when that Hall of Fame announcement is made.
I'm with you. And by the way, actually, there's been a lot of Eli Manning slander over the last couple of days, ever since his name has been released as a potential candidate for the upcoming Hall of Fame vote now. And look, even though he's got a 117 record, I think Eli's a Hall of Famer, a slam dunk, right? What do you think?
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of people that are saying the argument he should be in a Hall of Fame, and I will probably, if I have to hitchhike my way up to Canton, Ohio for that ceremony, I will try to do everything in my power to be there.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I hear if I had a quarterback like that, and I would do the same thing. I would do the same thing. Yeah, but unfortunately, I've had to watch Vinny Testaverde and Chad Pennington and Ryan Fitzpatrick and Sam Darnold and Zach Wilson. So, at least I got Mark Sanchez. So, but hey, you know what? Let's keep it rolling along here, Dan. As oh, actually, before we move on, I want to give, because we're going to be on tomorrow on our Patreon, doing our weekly show on there. So if you want to subscribe, you can check it out there. But for our live viewers here and everybody that's watching it after, let's give our Super Bowl score prediction for tomorrow's game, Dan. What is your score for tomorrow?
I am predicting 27-17 Niners.
27-17 Niners. I like it. That's a good score. Nice, solid score. I'm going to pick 34-21 Kansas City Chiefs, winning their second Super Bowl in a row. It's just I love the team of the Niners. I love Shanahan as a coach. I love McCaffrey as a running back. I also think that Brock Purdy gets way too much crap. I think Brock Purdy is a really good quarterback. The fact that he got back here again is incredible. I just think that the Kansas City Chiefs, is something about them. They're the champions. They've got that championship DNA, and Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. That's all you need. Those are the guys. So I would love to be wrong. I would love to be wrong because I've always had a soft spot for the 49ers because I grew up a big Joe Montana fan, Steve Young, Jerry Rice. Love that group growing up. So would definitely love to see them win also their first championship. We were talking about with the Rangers. They haven't won since 94. The San Francisco 49ers have not won since 1994 as well. So they would be ending a 30-year drought. So who knows, Dan? Maybe if the Niners do win, it'd be a good thing for the Rangers. Maybe a couple of 30-year streak, end this year.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. You never know. Also, this whole weekend, I've made it a point that I've told my mom that I know she likes to put that radio station she likes in the kitchen radio, but I told her don't put that station in the kitchen because we're fully committing to Taylor Swift again, and no No music from Taylor Swift this whole weekend.
I like it. I like it. Boycott
Yup,
Taylor Swift.
yup, in the support of Keep Football Taylor Swift Free campaign.
There you go. Keep TS out of football. I like it. And yeah, so let's keep it rolling along here. I know, but before we get out of here, Dale, we got to talk about the New York Knicks and what a great job I think this franchise has done, especially with the fact that right now we could be sitting here and complaining about how the Knicks right now are dealing with some major injuries, as Julius Randle is going to miss an extended period of time, as he's going to be out for at least a few more weeks. With his shoulder dislocation injury, and OG Anunoby just had to have surgery, so he had to have bone spurs or bone chips taken out of his elbow. So he's going to be down for 3 weeks as well. And right now we could be sitting here kicking ourselves in the ass and worrying about what the Knicks are going to do. As we've seen, they've had to run out a kind of depleted roster for the last week or so. But Jalen Brunson and Dante DiVincenzo have carried them on their backs up until the other night, after the Knicks made a couple of trades on deadline day that we'll get to in a sec. But they lost that game against the Mavericks 122-108. But nobody cared about that, because the big news of the day, Dan, is that on deadline day, the Knicks went out there and made a huge trade, picking up Bojan Bogdanovic, if that's how you say his name. I think he's been around for a long time. I know his last name is Bogdanovic. Not that sure about his first name. And former Knick Alec Burks, both acquired from the Detroit Pistons for a group of players. Look, I forget how you say that guy's last name. Arasada Kano, Malachi Flynn, Evan Fournier, who was a good starter a couple of years ago, kind of fell out of favor here. And then the one thing that does hurt is Quentin Grimes. But you got to give the Knicks credit. They moved all the dead weight off the roster. They brought in two guys who are going to, really contribute to this team and this playoff run. Burks is a guy that's a Tom Thibodeau guy. He knows the system. He's going to come in and, seamlessly work himself in. And Bogdanovic is a pro's pro, guy that's been in the league for years. He's only missed the playoffs, I think, once or twice in his career, as you'll see. Dan, when you saw this news come down of this trade, what was your first reaction?
I was pumped. This is the kind of move that a contending team makes, and I can't wait. This is gonna just be a real exciting playoff run, and it's gonna be it's just gonna be a nail biter, and it's gonna be a lot of nervously drinking water and trying to hold it and make trips to the bathroom every like around halfway into the game, when there's the longest break in the game. Take a trip to the bathroom. So it's gonna be take a trip to the bathroom every single. I'm gonna be probably up my phone on that little shelf in the bathroom. I'm gonna be this way I could have like I'll be able to it's set up perfectly, that shelf in the bathroom in my house, that I could pull up the cable company app and set it up there while I'm sitting on the toilet. I can set up at a spot that I can look at it for the toilet seat when I'm if I'm taking well you can guess, or Ramon or on a John or whatever. I could see the game. I could see the game.
Well, it's a lovely image that you've planted in our live viewers' head, Dan, and I'm sure they're all thrilled for that. But yeah, man, but you're right, because that's the kind of thing, when you've got a team like this, even when you're on the John, you still want to see these guys play because they're playing great, right?
Yeah, exactly. You do not want to miss a single moment. I mean, I remember for a while there used to be a radio in the bathroom that kind of stopped working. I remember during the 2000. I remember at times during the 2007 NFC Championship game, like I was putting the radio feed of the game in the bathroom when I was using the bathroom. So, during because I didn't want to miss a thing. I remember in overtime I had to go to the bathroom. So I was like, I had the game on there in the bathroom. I had to write the radio feed on that bathroom with that radio while I'm in the bathroom, because I didn't want to miss a single moment of that game. And luckily I was in my seat for that. I was in my seat there next. Of course, that 2007 NFC Championship game. I didn't have during the playoff during that Giants magical championship run. I didn't have Mr. Malunigan yet, but we did have Rosie Shea at that time, and she was still alive then, and she was the first of the two dogs we had. That became part of the duo with Rosie Shea and Mr. Malunigan's. God bless Rosie Shea up there. So hopefully hopefully head dog's doing very well up there with spending some time with my father.
Exactly, Dan.
But yeah, she was sitting on that couch and sitting on that couch right there with me watching that game, and I just gave her. I was celebrating like crazy. I just gave the dog a hug. I just gave that dog a victory hug because it was doing really. At that time, my mom's sister were out or something doing something, so I was just. That was who I had to celebrate with.
Hey, that's what happened.
I gave the dog a hug when I was going, and I may have picked her up because I was going nuts during that game. So
well, you might be giving Mr. Malunigan's a hug next time after you see these guys go. I just wanted to show this thing real quick. I saw this press conference and it just made me so happy. When was the last time you saw anybody on the Knicks talk like this? Now, you can't hear the question at first, but he asked, how does it feel to come to a team in a playoff race?
We both of us kind of used to it. I miss one playoffs in my career, 1 year playoffs in my career. So it's I'm used to big expectation and playing for the playoffs team and kind of contenders. So I think that it's early. We need a time to adjust, but All-Star is coming as well. So it's gonna be kind of easier for us to learn set places and what coach wants us to do.
Yeah, so that's Bogdanovich talking about coming over here and getting settled in and how he's only missed the playoffs once in his career. And I don't know, it seems like you got very a little bit darker over there.
All right, just let me try to fix that. Is the lighting a little bit better now?
That's a lot better. There you go. And yeah, so I mean, what do you think of that when you hear of bringing a guy that has that much playoff experience and confidence? This guy's averaging 20 points a game right now. To this Knicks locker room.
That is exciting. It is about time we have these guys that actually want to come out here and hopefully get us to that promised land.
Yeah, they got to the second round last year. There's in my head, there's no reason that the Knicks could not be the Miami Heat of this year, and they're talented enough to even finish off the job that the Heat couldn't do last year. Because look, when you look at what happened in that series last year, the Knicks got beat because they were not as deep of a team as the Heat in that playoff round. How many guys like Kevin Love and all these guys coming off the bench that just drilled shots that killed the Knicks, and the Knicks couldn't match because our bench just wasn't as deep. You add these two guys, you get Randall back, you get OG back, and suddenly this is a very deep Knicks team that can go 7, 8, maybe even 9 guys deep. If in a playoff series where you need your bench to show up, right?
Yeah, it's gonna be one heck of a playoff run. It's gonna be a lot. It's gonna be a lot of sports watching on TV for April, May, even into June potentially, because you're gonna have the Knicks in the playoffs. You're gonna have the Rangers in the playoffs, and plus you're gonna have the baseball season's gonna start. So there's gonna be a lot of sports watching. So it's gonna be then of course you got the NASCAR season going on. So it's gonna be a lot of sports watching, a lot of me on the edge of my seat. I might lose my voice especially if it comes to a situation where both the Knicks and the Rangers win a championship in the same year, and I'll be experiencing 2 championship celebrations within a short time span. But that has the potential to happen. I might lose my voice. My voice might be shot for weeks. I'm going to need some really good tea for my voice with how nuts I'm going to be going.
If everything goes to plan, you're right about that, man. And we got to keep the faith. And one of the guys that's going to keep that faith going right now is Dante DiVincenzo. We got to just give this man his props because ever since Julius Randle went down, Dante DiVincenzo has completely stepped up and played great basketball. Just I was looking at his games over the last just to highlight his last 5 games. This guy goes out there 32, 36, 26, 20, 33, just over his last 5. This is a guy that before the Julius Randle injury was averaging around 10 points a game. Now he's averaging over 13 and a half a game just from this hot run. So, it just goes to show how much Dante DiVincenzo has stepped up, right?
Yeah, exactly. And if the Knicks win a championship, they need to name a sandwich at an Italian deli after him.
No doubt about it. I don't think you'll have too much of an issue doing that. And, we were talking about the championship pedigree coming into this Knick locker room. One thing that gets forgotten about is Dante DiVincenzo already has that. This is a guy who won a championship as a role player with the Milwaukee Bucks in that 2021 season. So this is a guy that's got that championship, DNA in him too. And, not to mention having Jalen Brunson and all his other guys from Villanova get back together. That team itself had a championship DNA too. So maybe they're rekindling some of their old college, fire.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like this is going to be a guy that's on teams that end championship droughts. And I got to tell you this, but for both the Knicks and the Rangers, if they're like one win away for the championship, we got to make sure we're both watching it we're at the same place watching this game. Because we definitely got to be in the same room. If it's one win away for the championship, you got to be in the same room when it happens.
That's true. There's got to be some kind of watch party or something going on. But you know what? Let's not get ahead of ourselves, though, because there's a reason why it's been a while.
Yeah, exactly. But I can tell you, it's very nervous seeing this because I've been through this road so many times, and I just hope that this time it ends how we hope it does.
Yeah, it's true, man. That's very true. And I think that's just about it for us. I mean, we got to a lot today, had a fun show, but before we get out of here, it would not be a Best Seat in the House podcast if we didn't at least touch on baseball a little bit. So this week, we got pitchers and catchers reporting for the Mets and the Yankees on Wednesday and Thursday. So baseball is about to be in the air. The Yankees definitely are going to be hotly anticipated with the addition of Juan Soto and just adding him to that mix, and the Yankees really trying to put themselves in a position to win a championship for the first time since 2009. The Mets looking to just make themselves relevant again, although it doesn't really look like they've had too much of an offseason to put them in that direction. But what are you feeling like, Dan? What's your anticipation like for pitchers and catchers this year?
Well, I just have a feeling that this year it's going to be all in the hands for the Mets. I feel like it's going to be all in the hands of the pitching, I feel like. And right now, this pitching, I don't know, that has high expectations. Maybe that works in our favors. Maybe that's not what I just really feel like. I feel like the bullpen's going to play a big factor. I mean, unlike last year, this team will have a closer that I feel like might alleviate the rest off of these guys that are used to pitching the 7th and the 8th inning. Also, I have to say about this team, I just hope that Dumpster Dave, or GM, if the Mets are right there in the cusp of playoff contention at the trade deadline, he does what all teams that are in contention must do, and that's make a move at the trading deadline that bolsters his team.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. The Mets have to make a move if they're in position. I don't know if they're gonna be. We've had our feelings about this in the past. We've had discussions about this in the past. One thing though that I did see, I wanted to show this though because it did make me laugh, was me and you have discussed how we've called him Steve Wilpon with this offseason and how upset we've been with it so far. But I saw this on Twitter the other day and it made me laugh. The old Scooby Doo, taking the mask off to reveal Steve Cohen as Jeff Wilpon. And you know what, Dan? At this point, after this offseason, it really wouldn't surprise me too much. How about you?
Yeah, it is. I just hope that doesn't happen. I just hope at least I hope this year he just does it. He's just doing a tanking year, and then next year he's all of a sudden Steve's gonna go back to being a madman and making all those moves that it's just gonna go with barrage of moves being made.
Yep. Hey, I'm with you on that, man.
Yeah. I'd be all for that because I just feel like maybe this year they didn't see because I feel like Steve Cohen didn't see the moves that were just going to be felt like it was going to be like a small short term. He wants to go for the big moves that are going to have a long term effect. Hence why I just feel like they all of a sudden didn't want to go offer anyone and any of the big and any of the break the bank offers that they were going with they tried to do with Yamamoto, which unfortunately still shocks me. They despite the fact they were throwing money at him like crazy, throwing money at him wasn't enough to get him to come here, unfortunately, and it just that one still stings. I also noticed that this year, because of the London series, because the Mets are going to be playing those 2 games against the Phillies in London, there's a lot of British themed promos this year.
Are there really? I haven't noticed that.
Yeah, I noticed that. They're doing one where they're giving out scarves that are themed after the houses of Hogwarts. I thought that was interesting. I kind of thought they should have done a Doctor Who night. Would have been cool. But
I know you definitely would have loved that. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. It's one of my favorite things from Britain. Also,
how about a Beatles night, like the Beatles from when they played at Shea in '65?
Yeah. That would have been cool. Like like maybe like a bobblehead of the beat. About little 4. Like on the base, like 4 bobbleheads of the Beatles. That would have been cool. But I also do like though. I do love the little Mr. Met with the London phone booth bobblehead. Looks kind of a cool British promotion. And I'll be up.
That. I like that too.
Yeah, and I'll be up early in the morning, and surprisingly, I'll try to get a hold of some souvenirs from the London series by hopefully contacting some British peeps I know that like the Mets that are going to be attending that game. Hopefully one of them will be nice enough to be a middle person to maybe buy some souvenirs from the London series, maybe a program from the London series. I would love to have that in my Mets collection, a program from the first time the Mets ever played a regular season game in Europe. Be a nice little item to have in my Mets collection, and I'm gonna try to contact any of my Met. And believe me, there are plenty of Met fans. I expect to see plenty of Mets orange and blue in the stands in London, and show the world how much support there is to the Mets. And I gotta tell all you people, the Mets, they are an actual baseball team. They have uniforms and everything.
Believe it or not.
Yeah.
And the Mets definitely do have some support there too. You're right.
Yeah. They do have support. I just imagine similar to how you see sometimes here in New York with some of these bars with European soccer, with people that like European soccer, they gather in the morning at these bars to watch games. I have a feeling there's probably bars like that in England where people I hear there's a bar like that where people gather to watch to early in the morning, weird hours to watch baseball, surprisingly. And I expect, I hope, and I encourage all Met fans, outnumber the Philly fans during the London series. Make sure the Met fans dominate that crowd.
There will definitely be more Met fans there than Philly fans. I think, I don't think that's even going to be a question. But yeah, I agree with you. Show up, show proud. I know we got a couple of Met fans that follow us from the UK on Twitter, so hopefully they're going to check that game out, and would definitely be awesome to see everybody there supporting the orange and blue all the way over in London for the first time. So that'd be very cool, Dan. I agree with you on that. And I think that's just about going to do it for us now. We did a solid hour. across 3 platforms. I think we did a nice little bonus show here today, Dan. But before we get out of here, do you have anything that you'd like to plug for yourself?
Sure, you got my Twitter account. You see right there on the bottom of the screen right now. You're seeing there. You also got my Instagram, Bobo718DK. It's also the same account I go by on Treads, even though I haven't been posting on Treads that much. I'll probably post it there a little bit more often. But also, you could follow me on You could also check out some of my Bobo content on YouTube. It's one word, Daniel Curlin. You'll be seeing some content there for the Stadium series I'm filming there. That's gonna show up on this show. I'm gonna film this stuff. It's gonna show up on my YouTube account. So there'll be some fun stuff there, and there'll be plenty of fun stuff during the baseball season as well. And hopefully during the Rangers next playoff run, there'll be whatever all these exciting stuff that goes on in the world of New York sports teams I'm a fan of. I will make sure that you guys get to see a little bit of what it was like for me during these moments. You're gonna get a little taste of that. And you might even get some little funny videos of me and my dog. You like that classic you saw with the Mr. Malunigan and just stealing the beer. Which, by the way, no, Mr. Malunigan didn't really steal the beer in real life, but I really did. I feel I did a wonderful. You have to admit, I did a wonderful job setting it up and making it look like Malunigan was stealing all that beer. It took weeks. It took days worth of not just me, but anyone else in my house. If they were drinking a beer, I hoarded up the empties for that moment. Of course, I recycled the empties after the video, but I saved those empties. I saved those empties for that video, and I knew I really looked at it how I placed the empties on Mr. Malunigan's dog bed to really make it look like. And I actually intentionally left one full unopened in the fridge because I wanted to really make it look like I opened the fridge and I found only one left would have grabbing it, and I was expecting there was a bunch of beers, and all of a sudden I see only one left. And to make it look like all of a sudden Malunigan's been drinking all those beers, the way I placed those empties. So it was a well thought out that took a number of weeks to get to accumulate. It took quite a while to accumulate the amount of empties I needed to create that look, and it came out brilliant. So brilliant. The great our buddy Eastside Dave used that video to end the show for a while.
Yes, that was great. Definitely, you fooled me on that. It was an awesome video. Check that out if you get the chance. Definitely a lot of fun stuff coming to our Patreon too. So make sure to subscribe there if you get the chance. Patreon.com/Best Seat in the House podcast. That's going to do it for us. Don't forget, if you want to see any more of our stuff, we were on the Davey Mack Sports program just a couple of weeks ago. Check that out. We'll include that in the description of the video if you can't find it. Also, we had Carl Hamburger from Who Are These Podcasts on last week. So check that out if you're a fan of him. If not, check it out. It's a great episode. And finally, just a couple of weeks ago, we had the great Dr. Steve on and Joey Lucchese of the New York Mets on our 100th episode. So it's been a great couple of weeks for us, Dan. And things are just picking up here in 2024, right?
Yeah, yep. Things are picking up. And I just want to say, well, I know this one's a little far to stretch, but we'll figure out a location where we'll do this, and we'll do the show in person if this happens. But I think it'd be neat to one day, and this might be a stretch to get them come all the way from Japan to do this, but to have Bandmate do a live performance on their show would be cool.
Well, you're gonna have to reach out to them, Dan. Tweet them and tweet. I saw you did mention Jim Brewer the other day too. That would be great to have him too. Mention him on Twitter. Maybe they'll see it and contact us. It's worth a shot, right?
Yeah, that's true. I'm hoping our viewers maybe get the word out, even though that might be a stretch to get a band from overseas, from halfway around the world, to come out to hopefully some venue we would have to set up. I feel like we'd have to set up a secret location, not an unmentioned venue to film that. but we'd find the space to film a segment like that to have them perform. And we'd probably do a whole event where we put out a memo to some fans, like, a random contest to get to be the audience, because I feel like that moment we'd have to have some people to come to get to see that also. But
Yeah,
if by some miracle or miracles we got all 5 members of Bandmate to show up and maybe do a short set, maybe 5 songs, maybe 4 songs, whatever, to perform on our show, that would be neat if that happened.
Well, the invitation is out there, Bandmate, and I think that's just about going to do it for us this week. Everybody, thank you so much for tuning in to our Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, YouTube and Instagram simultaneous live stream. We appreciate everybody checking us out. We'll be back tomorrow on Patreon. If you want to check us out, it's $5. If not, we'll be back next Thursday on YouTube, like always. So for Rob Kramer and Daniel Bobo Curlin, this is the Best Seat in the House podcast, and we'll catch you in a couple of days, everybody.